Welcome to Time Turner Thursdays, a special feature of Hogwarts Radio that revisits some of our more popular episodes over the past 11 years. Episode 38 was released on July 18th, 2009, and was our very first live appearance in San Francisco, California. The panel welcomes Potter actor Chris Rankin to the show and discusses the newly released Half-Blood Prince film. Chris also shares some of his experiences while on set filming the series. We hope you have as much fun re-listening and revisiting some of these older episodes as we had recording them. Thank you for your continued support of our podcast. God, thanks, you guys. You guys are awesome. Welcome to Hogwarts Radio, episode number 38, the one at Azkatraz. I'm joined here today by the rest of the panel. I'll go through introductions really quick, so we're going to go with guests always first. So, as promised, we do have Chris Rankin, who plays Percy Weasley in the Harry Potter series on the panel. Woo. To his right, we got Becca Schroeder.
Hey, guys.
To my right, we got Jeremy Burrill. Of course, you guys always know this guy right here, Eric Skull.
Hey.
Next to him is Grayson Smith. And then Andy Gathman on the very end over there.
You guys are like the little crowd that could.
Now, I know that for those of you that were here for the panel discussion, we're going to get into a little bit of movie talk right now. But for those of you that were here for the panel discussion, we're going to go into a little bit more of an in-depth discussion about the movie. So everyone has seen the movie right now, right? Spoilers, right?
Keep going.
Okay. We're going to talk just briefly about the character acting in the movie, and we're going to start out with Dan. I thought that Dan was, he really nailed the character this time. Even though I wasn't a fan of the movie all too much, the character acting in this movie was so much better than it was in the previous movies. And I guess it just comes down to, everybody maturing as actors and as people. So let's get thoughts from the rest of the panel here.
Well, he only aged one more year, so I don't know how much he matured. It's a giant leap, but I don't think that it's just maturity. I think it's just acting skills.
Mad acting skills. You guys agree, by the way, that Dan and the whole trio picked it up a little bit?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. What about? I mean, he did better than that. He was their friend scene. You know, he did.
That's not as bad.
It was pretty intense. You know, like fight back, you coward. That really got to me. I don't know about you guys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I really thought that something that had to do with it was his, his immersion into other roles, mainly Equus. He brought that to Broadway, and I really thought, it's a completely different character, and I really thought that led him to add new facets to his character and how he acted it, and I thought he did a really good job this time around.
Yeah, Dan's really had great guidance, throughout the years, not only, on the set of Harry Potter, but in pursuing his other, endeavors in Equus. He was there with Richard Griffiths and, for that whole span in both on the West End and I think in Broadway as well. He's just had all this, great time to get his acting skills, up to par, and I think this movie is the first time that we've really seen that, and part of it too was treatment of the script. Treatment of the script of the film really allowed those characters to shine, and I think for the first time it felt like we were living part of life at Hogwarts. There were a few candid moments which were not in the book, but I felt that those moments were the strongest in the film. So I liked it.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was Dan's first performance, well, on the screen, on the big screen since Equus, and since we've seen him in 2007 in Order of the Phoenix. I really think that, even though it's only been, one film, 1 year at Hogwarts, we've seen him grow so much, and he's really gotten a knack of this Harry character. What about Michael Gambon? What did you guys think? Did he do Dumbledore justice or no?
He's all right.
No.
Wow.
Better, yes.
He's getting better, but
Better?
He's still a huge controversial topic, isn't he?
Yeah,
he really is.
The
Yes.
jury's out.
What do you think of him, Chris?
I like him, but the reason I do is because the Dumbledore that I liked from the books was the Dumbledore that enjoys 10-pin bowling and knitting patterns, and that's the Dumbledore that he plays. I think that the Richard Harris version was much more kind of the wise sort of fatherly figure, and although he did that very, very well, that's not the Dumbledore that I saw in my mind. So Gambon kind of captured Dumbledore for me for that reason, I guess. But
He's been receiving a lot of criticism ever since he, shook Harry against the trophy case in movie 4. I mean, that's not what we had, envisioned, and he's kind of been made fun of that. But I think he really has redeemed himself in this film, with the exception of the last word that he said in the movie, please. I mean, I thought he got the Severus part right, but the please, it wasn't.
Come on.
It wasn't pleading or
Come
begging.
on.
No, it wasn't pleading or begging like the books. It was just like a nod, giving him an okay. At the very end, said, please, and not just please.
I don't think that's how it sounded in the book.
I think
I
that's
quite
such
liked
an
him to say
ambiguous
it like
line,
that,
though.
actually.
I'm sorry, Chris.
No, so just that it'd be great if you'd actually said it like that. That would have been brilliant. Severus, please.
Yeah. I thought he said he read the book with this one. I mean, come on.
He did really good.
My bad.
Anybody else have any thoughts on? No. Should we just move along?
What about Alan Rickman?
He's
Spot
always good.
on.
He's
What do you
always,
guys think?
What do you guys think?
he's
Yeah?
always great, though.
He's always good.
He's always great.
He
yeah.
finally got the he had a few extra lines in this one.
Yeah, when they give him more lines, he's amazingly better. every time.
For me, at least for most part in this last movie, I saw him playing the consistent how he's played through all the films, and the scene that really got to me is the last one on the astronomy tower. The look that he had just really captured how I imagined Snape during the book, and it was really conflicted, just facial expression that I thought he captured really, really well.
Yeah, he has been, I am proud to say, the only consistent character in this in the movies since he started. I mean, he's the same since, Sorcerer's Stone all the way up through Half-Blood Prince, all the way through 7 years of playing, 8 years now, of playing Severus Snape. He's the only one in my mind that remains consistent whenever he, plays his character. And he really doesn't like to talk about his character. If you guys notice in interviews, he said, no, I don't talk about that because of people that haven't read the books or haven't seen the movies. It's not fair to them.
And to be fair, I think a lot of that goes into how they're written and directed. And Snape, I think, has a very clear, way that he acts. And he really seems to be, in the books, he's written the most consistently in how he behaves. Whereas other characters, such as Ron, or for instance, they can go from angry to, joyful. They have many emotions, and Snape seems to be very level, the same, for the most part, the same emotional state.
Andy, Grayson, you got anything?
I think considering he hasn't read the books, he does an awesome job.
Yeah.
Becca, any thoughts?
I really have not much to say about that. I've always loved the way he's done everything, so this movie really wasn't much of a surprise for me. He still did extremely well, I think, anyway.
Well, let's talk about one of the newer characters here, Jessie Cave, Lavender Brown. Oh, yeah, you guys are already going, okay. She likes her 1-1, But I think she did. She was so annoying. She was so annoying. She was good. And she really, she hit it dead on, I think.
Yeah, she was one of my favorite parts of the movie.
Yeah.
She was so obnoxious. You just wanted to hate her so much, and I think that's what you're supposed to see with her. So I absolutely loved it. I think she was brilliant.
I think from my point of view, Fiona Weir, who cast the last two films, the two greatest successes she's had are Ivana Lynch and Jessie Cave, because you can't. They're just perfectly cast.
Absolutely.
There's no argues with that.
Yeah, speaking of Ivana Lynch, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She does. She plays Luna really well. I'm very happy with with that selection there. Want to move in and talk about the ending just a little bit here. Was the ending, in your eyes, in everybody's eyes out there, was that a fitting ending?
Well, what else would you do with the ending, though, besides have them end up at Hogwarts discussing the future? Yeah, that's true. I agree with that. I do agree with you. I agree with that.
Because it was Ron that said everything at the end, of Half-Blood Prince, and
I'll agree with that.
yeah.
Okay.
I know we discussed similarities between the ending in Goblet of Fire to Half-Blood Prince, and how Half-Blood Prince was, a lot the same. But I just have to point out that if you take book to book, Goblet of Fire was the odd man out in that they changed the ending drastically, it worked when we saw it, with the Beaubaton and Durmstrang, leaving and watching them fly, away into the sky. And with Fox, we saw that scene too, and I thought of the two, in my eyes, it's the more fitting ending in that it really captures, the fact that they have this sadness in Dumbledore's death, but acknowledging, what comes next in their battle is really just beginning. And I thought that was, I didn't have a problem with that at all, that they decided to keep the same ending as Goblet of Fire. I thought it worked well.
I just want to ask, and it's questions for everybody, and Chris especially, what surprised you about the movie upon seeing it, surprised you the most?
Actually, oddly, not a lot.
Okay.
The things that really surprised me were what I would consider unnecessary changes. Things like that Luna finds Harry on the train rather than Tonks, and the burrow burning down. I don't know.
Exactly.
It's not a criticism necessarily, but I would question why they needed to.
Well, you lost your home.
Well, yeah, I know. I'm sure I'm supposed to go there at some point, but hey, who knows? But yeah, that would. Those were my thoughts on the surprising side of it. I was like, was that necessary to change those things? And it might be necessary for the what they're going to do to Deathly Hallows. Well, I guess we'll have to wait and see on that one. But
well, wrapping up the movie discussion here, just one more point. With Steve Klove's writing and David Yates directing, what are our expectations going into the two final films there, knowing what we know now, their style of directing and writing?
I'm more confident now that I've seen Half-Blood Prince, because I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the balance of the humor and the adventure and all that kind of stuff. So I think with two films now, and with Steve Klove's back, I think it'll be worthwhile, at least. Anyone else agree?
Well, something I noticed with David Yates directing in Order of the Phoenix is that I thought it really had its moments and of tremendous style, and the way he took some of the descriptions in the book and sort of changed them slightly just so we could, have them represented visually. And but I noticed a few, inconsistencies, and it went back and forth. And I thought he sort of added to the good directing points that he made in Order of the Phoenix, and took those and made them better and more consistent in Half-Blood Prince from a directing standpoint, and cinematography for that matter. And so I'm really hopeful that he, continues with that into Deathly Hallows Part 1 and 2, and that they will be even more consistent, and just directing on a whole will be better, and I'm confident in that.
Yeah. Jeremy, we talked about, too, that one scene in the burrow, I believe in the beginning of the film, in Half-Blood Prince, where they introduce, I believe, some of the Weasleys. Molly's at the top of the stairs looking down, and there's just that nice shot of like up the staircase. I love that shot, and that really that was what for me, showed me that movie 6 was just going to be, stylistically very, just completely improved and completely, smoother, and it was just that impressed me so much that just from there on in, movie could have been bad and I wouldn't have noticed. I was that impressed with it.
I'm really not a fan of David Yates' style of directing, and I mean, I guess I'm just in that stereotypical mindset that of Chris Columbus, of the first 2 films where they're supposed to be magical. I understand these films are supposed to be dark, and I guess it's just, the way that I think is the reason why I'm having such a hard time liking the final 2 movies that we've seen. So my expectations going into the final film, knowing that they've split it and that they have the potential to be about 2.5 hours each, it gives me confidence, like Grayson said, knowing that they might, they'll be able to do it justice. But as far as his style of directing and the cinematography work and things like that, I'm just not a really big fan of it. But we'll just have to wait and see what happens. Maybe they'll pull another trick out of their hat and surprise us all.
Well, as far as books go, it doesn't really get much darker than 7. Mm-hmm. So if they're really good at filming, the darkest scenes, I think they'll be just fine. Yeah. With the next few movies.
Just to comment on, David Yates, as we said, he's had some very dark directing and style that he's put into these movies. But I really thought that some of the parts in Half-Blood Prince that flourished were the comedy, and not only in the acting, but it just altogether worked well. And I thought that was one of the one of the points of the movie that I enjoyed the best was the comedy and how fresh it was, and different than the past films. I really enjoyed it.
Just a final thought here for Chris. How do you think this movie fit in with the rest of the series?
I think it's actually really interesting. Going back to what you were saying about enjoying the Chris Columbus films, because I would say you're amongst the huge minority on that side of things. But
that's nothing new.
I mean, the films that Chris made, the first 2, I think were brilliant films, but they were very much what they were at the time. They were kids' films, and I enjoy the way that the series has progressed as we as a cast and as you as fans have got sort of gradually older. They've kind of progressed from nice magical children's films into much more grown-up material. I'm going to be really interested to see what happens with the 7th one, especially with David Yates directing it, because from my point of view, he's very much an actor's director. He doesn't make films. He sort of sculpts performances out of his cast, which is exciting as an actor to work with somebody who cares that much about the performances rather than about the overall sort of aesthetic of the film as a sort of as a starting point. So it's going to be interesting. I'll get back to you on how it actually is.
I'm afraid every time Chris talks, he's going to give me detention or something.
No, you're okay.
We're going to move into a little bit of conference talk right now. Our next segment here. And what have you guys thought of Alcatraz so far? Worth it? Worth the wait? Worth the effort? Worth the money?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, me too. What? Any favorite parts stand out to anybody? The ball.
Hogwarts Radio meetup.
Awesome. Well, I think my favorite part of the whole conference is just being there and hanging out with friends and being in the presence of 1,000 other, people I share the same passion with, and hearing some really amazing people talk, about the love for this series and different kind of themes. I didn't know there was so much you could talk about. I was worried about running out of content for a podcast. Now I'm like, wow, we can keep going. But But I think that's what did that to me, besides, having fun, running around, wreaking havoc, and giving the hotel security staff a run for their money. So I'm going to get thoughts from the rest of the panel. Andy, what about you?
I think it's very surreal to be here, the faces are real and that it's not on Skype or Facebook anymore and that we're all just, here in person and that we can see each other and it's awesome, it's a level of dimension you don't get, just on the online fandom.
Yeah, I've had a lot of fun with all my friends here. Elevator parties are fun.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. Meeting awesome people, doing podcasts, it's been a lot of fun. It's been amazing.
Yeah. Just to add to that, all the events that that have gone on at this conference, have been really, I think, well thought out. They've always been fun, and balance that with enough time to go out and see the city of San Francisco, because that is part of why we're here. I think is to really enjoy the setting that we're in, and just getting a few days in between programming to go out and check out the city has been great. I think the hotel choice was good, and I enjoyed just being in the area and meeting everyone.
I just think, we spend, 360 days in a year. I know us on a personal level, but, even the fandom as a whole, we doing this podcast and working on these websites and, collaborating on projects with all these people and then finally getting to see them and, you see people you correspond with an email and just being able to hang out and it's, it's, as Andy said, it's a really surreal experience, and I think it's definitely, worth everything that, we put into getting to this conference.
Yeah. I've had an awesome time. I actually have. It's kind of surreal for me being here. This is really the first one I've done. I got kind of involved with the Witching Hour a few years ago by accident, in that I was doing an event in Salem and I happened to be staying in the hotel where it was happening. But these things happen, I guess. But it's been a lot of fun. It's been because I'm a fan of the books and I have been since the late '90s. So I'm a true fan. I was there before the films ever happened. So it's nice for me to be here on that side of it, but it's great to be here, obviously promoting my side of it, although surreally promoting a film that I'm not actually in is a little strange, I guess, but it's fun. I've had an awesome time and not managed to get too jet lagged either, so happy days.
I mean, as far as favorite parts of this conference go, it's really, really hard to decide. Obviously, you guys all know I am a huge Wizard Rock fangirl, so that has been a great experience for me to have so much to do this weekend. But like everyone else has been saying, it's just being here with everyone, finally seeing people that you talk to online every day, you see on Facebook all the time, but you never actually gather the fact that they actually exist. And just to be able to finally meet everyone and to mix it in, like what Eric said, seeing the city and fitting in programming and getting everything done. We all look forward to these conferences as a great thing to do and to see all of our friends and everything, but this has probably been the busiest week of the year so far for me, between traveling down here and meeting everyone and seeing the city and trying to do programming and getting ready for the show and everything, but it's been my favorite so far.
There's something special about watching your friend update their Twitter right in front of you.
That's very true.
Your friend from out of state, So.
And then you get the text on your phone, you're like, what the heck? But, yeah, I think it's just overall the whole camaraderie of the entire fandom, just coming together and being at this place and being able to dress up in robes and watch the people in the elevators give funny looks at you. It's really great. I couldn't imagine a better group of people to hang out with and, to spend, a week of my time, away from home. Mm-hmm. It feels like I've never even left home because I've had these guys here.
Aww. And we got one more of these coming up next. It's next summer, Infinitus in Orlando, Florida for the Universal theme park opening.
Definitely.
Potter. So that will be a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. Judging from that little mediocre applause, some of you are going, or all of you are going.
Yeah,
it'll be lots of fun.
All right.
Save your money.
To go into, apart from the fact that, we're seeing all these people that we've met over the internet or, working and collaborating on these websites and podcasts, a big surprise has been the programming, and, some of the presentations have been, amazing and really academically, stirring and interesting, and that's something I was really surprised with. I never thought I'd have to be, really, really making the decision, over two separate things happening on, at the same time that were really interesting. And I'd see presentations, and then I'd go back for similar ones by the same presenter, the next day, just because there's so much that, that you can hardly grasp. And, I've really, really been enjoying that aspect as well.
We definitely picked the right book series, I think.
Well, now we're going to get into our Chris Rankin discussion. We're going to ask him...
Will Chris Rankin please step out?
Yeah, I was going to say, shall I leave while you discuss me?
He's like, oh, great. I have to answer more questions. No, we're going to, ask him a couple of questions, get some thoughts and, some feedback, some inside information. Hopefully, if he's willing to cooperate.
Yeah.
Right. So we all know that. First and foremost, we all know that Chris plays Percy Weasley in the Harry Potter series and the movies. I just got to ask you: are you one of those actors that haven't read the book, or have you read the books?
I read. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, keep
my
up,
God!
Josh.
Oh, wow.
Come on.
Okay, it's what it's what my computer says 1:28 a.m. So I'm running on.
Yeah, my phone says 5:28 a.m.
Sorry. Okay. we're editing that out, right, Aziza? All right.
This isn't live, is it? No, that's cool.
What was your favorite book?
My favorite that would be Chamber of Secrets.
Thank God.
Yeah, and not a lot of people say that, and I justify that, and I've justified it a couple of times this weekend to a few people who've asked, in saying that I don't think I could actually choose an actual favourite book out of all 7 of them. 5 was probably my least favourite, but mostly because there was a lot of detail and not an awful lot of story from my sort of point of view. But Chamber of Secrets was the one I enjoyed reading the most first time through. So for that reason, it's my favourite.
We've all enjoyed watching you, over the years in your role as Percy.
It's the creepiest thing anyone's ever said.
He pulls it off well.
Actually, I think I can top that, Chris. Oh, sorry. They have your suit from Order of the Phoenix at the exhibition in Chicago.
Yeah, a friend of mine told me that. I was kind of amazed. That's really odd for me.
People pay good money to see it.
And to see my dirty laundry. That's a bit kind of creepy, really.
As I was saying, I mean, we've all enjoyed watching you on the screen as your role as Percy. But how do you get into the role of Percy? Is there anything special that you do? Because we understand that he makes quite a big transition in the in the 5th book. To this kind of ministry-loving...
Yeah, I mean, sort of on the first 3, my preparation for Percy was essentially to get myself in a little bit of a bad mood every day and kind of stick with it, because he doesn't really have a sense of humour, I don't think, Percy. It's in there somewhere, but he's one of those people who I think he laughs internally, but kind of goes, no, really shouldn't laugh at that. It's terribly childish and not at all funny. But by the time we did the 5th film, I had to kind of my sort of mental attitude. I'm not a huge person for kind of preparing too much. I'm not one of these people who spends hours meditating and researching people and things like that. But I always kind of, before I start work, I kind of get into a mindset which I stick with. And with Order of the Phoenix, although I sort of barely graced the screen for more than like 4 minutes, but the mindset on that was much more of a kind of sort of set jaw, kind of I've made a decision, I'm going to have to go with it kind of attitude. I think, for me, by the time the 5th film comes around, Percy has a little bit of an inkling that he's doing the wrong thing, but can't get out of it. He's in his hole and he's a bit stuck. So that was the way I went with that. Unfortunately, you didn't get to see it that much, really. But hey, I did have 3 lines in the script originally. No, 3 words. I take that back. I had 3 words in the script. But hey,
That was a cool scene too, where in Dumbledore's office.
yeah,
where you know,
I learned one thing from an actor. I can't remember who it was. It was one of the Potter cast, and they said the easiest way to make sure that you're in a scene is to maintain physical contact with the lead character in that scene for as long as you possibly can. And it works. I discovered that much. It does actually work. So yeah.
Any wow, awkward. Any embarrassing moments on the set?
Yeah. Yeah, sticking with that scene, actually, the Dumbledore's office scene, I got a bit of a surprise that day, actually, because I'd never done stunts before, and I hope never to do them again, although by the sounds of Deathly Hallows, that might change. But the part of that scene where Fawkes the Phoenix comes, rescues Dumbledore, and off he goes, and we all sort of get bowled to the floor by the force of it. I was stood right in front of an open fire, and I came back after lunch to shoot that bit, and our assistant director Clive came up and said, "Chris, this is Greg, head of stunts," and I was like, "Hi." He's gonna have a chat with you. Why is he gonna have a what? Stunts? Have I got the wrong script here? What? Yeah, and he was like, so nothing to worry about. You know, we're gonna have a crash mat here for you to fall back onto for this little scene. Just don't worry too much about the guy standing next to you with the fire extinguisher. He'll be there if you need. Oh my God! What? No, hang on. So yeah, that was interesting. I fortunately survived the fire. But apart from that, there's not too many embarrassing moments, really. I do have a scar on my little finger from where Errol bit me in the second film, in the burrow scene. And it's quite an look, you can see it. It's quite an impressive scar. It's all the way down there, yeah. So, yeah, but other than that, I've survived relatively unharmed, I think.
Was that before or after he crashed into the window?
That was after. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was trying to persuade him to give me the Hogwarts letters. He's a very well-trained owl.
Well, not going into embarrassing moments, but what about any fondest memories? Anything that really strikes you as an awe moment, or I'll remember that for the rest of my life, in a good way?
Yeah, well, most of it, really. I mean, it's all been a lot of fun, and I still pinch myself every day going into work there, because really I started doing Harry Potter as a 16-year-old who did amateur theatre and wanted to do it professionally, and like anyone who wants to do acting professionally thinks they don't really stand a chance. And in the scheme of things, I guess I really didn't stand a chance. I was just lucky that I was ginger, I think. But it's all been a lot of fun, and it's going to be really sad when it's finished. But I guess any scenes I did with the Weasley family would stand out, especially with Julie, because she's just amazing and just a pleasure to work with. I honestly think she's probably the best actress there is in the world, and because she does everything. You know, she's a comedian. She can dance. She sings. She is Oscar nominated. She's just amazing. There's nothing she can't do, and she kind of awes me every time I see her. So,
Is she your favorite actor or actress to work with on the set?
yeah. I mean, it's hard to pick favorites, but she'd definitely be it.
Who do you like working with the most?
He just said, I think.
Well, yeah, Julie, but actually Dan is a lot of fun to work with, because he takes it so seriously. You know, you can see that he has an absolute passion for what he does, and he wants to do it as well as he can, and that's nice to work with, because you do. I've worked with a lot of actors in the last 9 years now, and a lot of them do it because it's what they do, and that's how they get their money, and they learn their lines and don't bump into the furniture and just get on with the job. And Dan loves his work, and I think that comes across when you see him interviewed and see him acting. He really cares for what he does. He has a huge passion. So I like working with Dan.
You mentioned waking up and pinching yourself before you go to work. Where do you work, or not specifically where do you work, but you have a job outside of the acting business? Or?
Well, I sort of. I don't know. I'm at college at the moment, studying film production, and so essentially directing, producing, editing, graphic design randomly in the middle of all that, and editing and camera work and radio. So that's my life for the next 2.5 years, as well as shooting Deathly Hallows, which is going to be interesting. Trying to do all that, and, get a degree. It's going to be fun.
No, I think I read somewhere. Did you used to work in a movie theater?
Yeah, I did. A long time ago
Time
now. Chamber of Secrets was out when I was working there, so
cool.
That's how long ago that
that
was.
Must have been cool, huh?
Wow.
That was weird. That was possibly the weirdest thing. I got bored. I didn't do it for any other reason other than I had a lot of time on my hands and figured if I worked there I didn't have to pay to go and see films. So so that helped. But yeah, it was weird working there. The release of Chamber of Secrets was very strange. People didn't know what to do at all. They couldn't quite deal with the fact that I was up there on the screen and over there selling them popcorn. It didn't quite work out for them. So
They didn't get you to do anything special, like do trivia before the movie, or?
No, do you know what, they didn't? Which is a bit of a shame because I quite enjoyed that. I'm a little bit of a masochist in some ways, I think.
Well, let's talk about Deathly Hallows for a little bit here.
Mm-hmm.
You're excited?
Very, yeah, and relieved. I after Order of the Phoenix, where I had, like I said, all of 3 words in the script, I didn't really hold out much hope that Percy was going to make it back until Deathly Hallows came out, and then of course kind of went, oh well, I think he might, but then kind of looked back at it and went, no, hang on, how are they going to crowbar Percy back in? Because he's kind of left, but they kind of didn't deal with the whole Percy rejection, disowning the family kind of hatred thing going on there. So it'll be interesting to see what they've done to bring him back. But according to the book, it's going to be amazing. And the battle scene, by the sounds of it, I was reading on the internet this morning somewhere that it's going to be, they're talking about 30 minutes of final battle scene, so it's going to be big.
That's going to be crazy because you're going to be in the same scene. Apparently, if they show Fred's death, you're actually going to be there while he's cracking that half-witted joke there.
Doing some man crying. It's going to be it's going to be a lot of fun. Yeah, that should be a lot of fun.
Wow. So when do you start filming? In the fall?
Yeah, I start in October. And apparently, although I don't know this officially because I don't get a schedule till end of August, but apparently we're starting with the battle. So
challenging off the bat.
Yeah, straight in at the deep end after a couple of years of not being there. So it'll be a lot of fun. But like I said, I haven't got a schedule yet. I know I'm working October through March, on and off.
Wow.
So yeah, that's it's going to be big, but no schedule, no script, no clue.
What is the difference? You say you're working October through March. How is that in length compared to past films?
It's certainly more than I did on Order of the Phoenix. I forgot which film it was then, I'm sorry. Which was about 3 weeks, I think. Which really wasn't that long, I guess. First couple of films I was there for the duration. But then, of course, Percy was still at school then, and they had us all there for the sort of background scenes and stuff. So yeah, that was hard work. But Azkaban, maybe I was there 5 or 6 months. Order of the Phoenix, 3 weeks. This one, I think, is probably going to be, I guess, 10 or 12 weeks over that time period. But who knows?
So you get the script and the schedule in August?
I get a schedule in August. I have no idea when I'll get a script. It might not be till that morning. But because for obvious reasons, they're very kind of security conscious about who has a script and when.
How long do they give you to read the script and then show up on set and be ready to film?
Well, usually how it goes is we get the script at the beginning of the shoot. Everyone gets their script, and then we have a table read right at the beginning. Whether that's going to happen or not on this film, I don't know, and I actually don't know yet whether or not I'm starting. Whether I don't actually know whether or not Percy turns up at maybe near the end of film 7 or actually into film 8. I'm not entirely sure when that's going to come. I'm guessing film 8. But whether or not they do a table read for 7 and 8, although that's unlikely now they've started 7, whether or not they do one for 8, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah. Anybody?
No?
No questions? Here's your chance.
No questions from Grayson? Grayson's our film critic here. So,
yeah.
No questions at all?
No, he's answering very good questions. I can't think of it.
For once, you don't have anything to say.
Yeah, and once in a
Wow.
lifetime.
That's
I have
pretty
anything to
impressive.
say.
I'm not gonna lie.
You should be very impressed. Yeah, I don't have anything to say.
What are you going to take away? Not in a physical
What am
sense.
I going to steal?
No, not in a physical sense, but more of a literal sense. What are you going to take away from this entire experience when you're done?
I think a lot of really happy memories. It's just been awesome. Actually, it's been it'll be 9 years in September since I started working on Potter, which is an awfully long time, and it's basically my entire adult life. I was 16 when I started. I'm 25 now, and I've kind of grown up with it. It's what I've known for a very long time. So it's going to be sad from that point of view that it's over. But I've learned an awful lot along the way about how to act and how to make movies, and that's something that I really hope to take on because, like I said, I'm at college doing filmmaking. So. Maybe one day I'll be producing and directing things as big as Potter. That would be nice. Actually, that would be very nice.
Definitely. So, any current projects that you're working on?
No, not at the moment. It's all just kind of warming up to Potter now. And unfortunately, when Warner Brothers contract you to do something, you are kind of contracted to them and them alone. So that kind of limits me a bit. But also, I start in October. There's not an awful lot I could get done between now and then. And plus, with doing college and stuff, I'm quite enjoying having a summer holiday. So I'm going to be away. That's my plan.
At this time, we're going to go ahead and take questions from the audience about either any of us, anything at all, about the show, about Chris, anything that you guys want to know about us. I just volunteered you.
Yeah, no worries. That's fine.
So we're going to have Jeremy walk around with the microphone and select people. So
this is for Chris.
Hey.
Like he was saying how what you're going to take away literally, and you just automatically say, "What am I going to steal?" What would you steal?
Yeah, that suit from the 5th film. that would be coming home with me if I could. I guess if anyone saw me on the boat on Friday night here or at the ball last night and saw the pointy shoes, they went with the suit. They were actually in the film, so I'd quite like the suit to match now. That'd be nice. And that suit was tailor-made by like one of the best tailors in London, especially for me. So it would be a nice keepsake because the robes, the school uniform robes are cool, but they're kind of one size fits no one. You know what I mean? So yeah, it'd be nice to have the suit. It'd be nice to have my Weasley jumper as well. That'd be a nice memento, I think. But yeah, I'd take the burrow home if I could. But
well, it kind of burned down.
Yeah, I know. I'm homeless. Sucks.
Hopefully this hasn't already been answered by WB yet, but if it hasn't, I'm asking, like anyone here, at what point do you think they'll split book 7 in half from the movies, and why?
That's a really controversial point.
Wow.
I don't think there's an official stance on that yet, as far as I know. So, I don't know. I really don't know. I reckon it'll be around about Dobby is my guess. But then it might not be, because I don't know. What do you guys think? You're the expert here.
I believe that
sounds right.
I think I read David Yates in an interview said that while they were filming, I think the Silver Doe scene or something in the forest, that he said that was for movie 7, so we can assume that'll be somewhere after the scenes, the Silver Doe scene.
Yeah, just going to touch off of that real quick. They were filming in Swineley Forest a couple of months ago, and they had to build the set, and it took them 2 months to build the set. But at the same time, in that same interview, they said they were filming both parts 1 and 2 in there. So it might be after the trio gets kidnapped by the Snatchers, and as most of you said, it ends right there, and then movie 8 picks up at Malfoy Manor.
Possibility,
yeah. Possibly. It's a big smokescreen, really, with them filming concurrently and all that sort of thing.
I honestly don't think they're going to tell anyone until you get to see it.
It will be a cliffhanger, though. It will be. Absolutely.
Let's go with the girl in purple right here.
I'm studying film in college, too.
Awesome.
And I was just wondering if you have any funny projects you work on, or what kind of projects you've had to produce so far, or anything like that.
We had to do a 15-minute live radio show. That was a lot of fun. And the last project we did was we've had to do loads and loads of practical work, which is awesome. But we did a 5-minute scripted 5-minute short film fiction, which went really well, and if anyone's interested, it's on YouTube. It's called Life Hack, promoting it like crazy. And the happy news on that is that the university have submitted it for an award, so it must be quite good, I think. And I produced it, so it wasn't entirely my fault. But I'm in it as well, actually. So
well, I think you got the 15 minutes of the live thing down here.
Yeah, well, I also co-host a show on our university radio, so I'm kind of used to the radio thing now. It's starting to sink in, the whole behaving yourself and remembering to watch your mouth.
We're gonna go right up front here.
Okay, Chris. My question is, so in the first some books, no one really liked Percy. So how does it feel playing a character that no one really likes?
Thanks so much. I think the majority of actors would agree with me that it's more fun playing bad characters / disliked characters than it is playing the heroes. Yeah, heroes are boring. They're kind of bland most of the time. They get the girl, they live happily ever after. The heroes always get a better storyline, and that may or may not be true of Percy all the time, but he's much more fun to play, and I'm definitely what we'd call a character actor. I always end up with roles like Percy, so yeah, I enjoy it. I enjoy it a lot. I'd rather do that than play Harry, by far. Although I'd prefer the money that Dan gets. But
a few more questions.
You said that you began doing Harry Potter when you were 16, and you said you were an amateur actor beforehand. I was wondering what types of acting you had done pre-Harry Potter, whether Shakespearean training or just
mostly musicals at school. A bit of a musical theatre geek as well as everything else. Yeah, I sing. No. I went to Zeum today and did karaoke with Gwen, so that's all the singing I'm doing for now. Yeah, so. But yeah, mostly musicals. Everything from Jesus Christ Superstar to Les Mis to Oliver, Little Shop of Horrors, Bugsy Malone, Fiddler on the Roof, Grease. You name it, I've given it a go somewhere along the line. Yeah, so that was kind of my background. Still haven't done Shakespeare. Still would like to. But
you should. It's fun.
It is. Yeah, I love Shakespeare. I obviously, as an actor, you kind of have to learn quite a lot of it. But it'd be nice to do it for once for real, rather than just in front of a panel of audition people, type casting people, things. So, yeah.
Okay. Right up front here.
I just had a question. If, say, they did they redid the movies in like 10 or 15 years or so, if you could come back as one of the older characters, would you come back, and who would you like to play?
If they redid them, that would be interesting.
Chris would be a good Dumbledore.
Yeah, I need to work on the beard, I think, for now. But although the grey might come by then, I'd still like to have a stab at Voldemort. That would be my answer. But that goes back to the whole enjoying playing bad guys thing. He's the best character, sort of as a performance, sort of to play. He's the best character by far. I think he's awesome. But then also Tom Riddle along with that. I think Tom Riddle was a fun character.
You just like the bad characters,
yeah, I
don't
really,
you?
really do. I actually really do. Maybe Lovegood as well. Maybe obviously not Luna. But yeah, more Xenophilius, I think. But yeah, that could be fun. Something quirky, definitely.
Okay.
This is kind of directed at everyone, but they totally dropped Percy's storyline from like all the movies. But do you think it's possible that they could like revamp it in the 7th movie and then like end it in the 8th movie? Is that a possibility?
I think. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I don't have nothing to say.
I think it's got to be up in the air, like with that, because they haven't shown Percy leaving in any of the movies. I think in order to make his return that much more, impacting, I think they should go into some kind of explanation, even to keep continuity within the movie. They should kind of reference it, I think, and that would, obviously build up his return. But things like introducing even the fact that Harry inherited Grimmauld Place from Sirius hasn't fully even been explained or even touched on in the movie. So a lot of the events of movie 7 are really trapped in a way by what they haven't yet explained. And so you'll see the trio going to Grimmauld Place, and they'll have to explain there that, it was left to them, and everything from the locket to all the other Horcruxes that weren't introduced in movie 6 like they should have been because they were in the books. They'll have to find new ways to reintroduce. So I think just by making the return of Percy a big sort of part of the ending battle, they should at least, mention that there has been a falling out, and maybe even film a few scenes that,
Yeah, well, it would be good to have an explanation for the sort of like 3 people in the world who will go and see the films who haven't read the books by then, because I really don't think that anyone hasn't read them. I can't imagine there's that many people in the world who haven't.
Be surprised.
Yeah, I guess, but yeah.
Anyone here not read the books?
Oh, are you serious?
I'd be amazed if there was somebody here who hadn't. I'd like to meet them. That would be.
One more question, I think.
Yeah, I think we're going to take one more question here. Anybody?
In the back there, Jeremy.
Back in the back.
Undoubtedly, when you get back to the set for Deathly Hallows, what are you likely to tell the other actors about your experience going to a PotterCon?
What an awesome question to end on. I'm going to tell them that they should come. Because, well, do you know what? I've had a lot of fun this weekend, and I haven't been to anywhere near as many panels and discussions as I'd have liked to. Half because of jet lag, and half because this is my first time in San Francisco, and I actually wanted to, go to San Francisco. Because I think people at home actually don't believe I'm here at the moment, to be honest. I think they think I'm in a hotel at Heathrow Airport or something. But yeah, it's these things are fun, and I think you guys sometimes get a bit of bad press for being quite as enthusiastic about things as you are. And I don't think that's a bad thing. But I think some of my fellow cast members may be a little bit wary of such a sort of a huge gathering of quite such enthusiastic people. But do you know what? I'm not. I don't care. So and I've had an awesome time. I've partied with crazy, crazy people in awesome costumes and had a utterly fab time. So, and fingers crossed I'll make it to Infinitus, whether or not I'm here as a guest or as one of you guys, who knows, but I intend to be there, come hell or high water. So,
Awesome. Well, you guys, this is our first live show. So how did we do? Did we do okay?
Yeah.
I think you did good.
You guys happy about that? Great. Awesome. Well, we want to take this time to thank Chris, of course, for coming and answering our questions at, 6 o'clock in the morning his time.
Yeah, that's fine.
Also, we want to thank HPEF, Aziza, Gwen, Heidi, and the Park 55 Hotel for hosting us this evening. And, of course, you guys, the audience who make the show happen each week. Thank you very much for all your support that you show us. There's T-shirts on sale in the back, and with that, while supplies last, you get a free Olivans gift. So go ahead and check it out. I think they're about $15 each, but it's really awesome. It's a really good deal. So from the Hogwarts Radio crew to you, have a safe evening the rest of the con. I know tomorrow we have that breakfast, and then post-con depression sets in. But again, thank you very much, guys, for coming out. You guys are great.
See you next year.
Thank you.